Wrigley Field. So let's send it to the guys calling the game, John Smoltz and Matt Vasgersian. Happy 4th of July, gentlemen.
Chris, an American holiday celebrated in an American treasure. Welcome to historic Wrigley Field in Chicago. A perfect backdrop on a perfect day for our national pastime on a special 4th of July edition of Baseball Night in America. Fox Sports presents the Miami Marlins and the Chicago Cubs. Welcome inside a historic Wrigley Field with John Smoltz, Matt Vasgersian. Let's talk about the Chicago Cubs. There's a lot of baseball left to be played this season, of course, John. But if the season were to end today, the Cubs are a postseason team. If that's to continue, they'll be led by their exciting young infield.
Yeah, the future is bright, and the future might be now. Ahead of the expectations of what might be a 2-year postseason berth, they're going to rely on their young infield. Not many teams have this kind of young talent. And what the Cubs did, instead of stockpile pitching, they did position players. Hard to believe Anthony Rizzo, you could actually call him the veteran of this crop. It is very, very talented. They've come of age. And for the Cubs to be relevant, these guys are going to carry the bulk of the load.
A word on the Miami Marlins. They've won 4 in a row. They hope to continue that momentum in the top of the first with Major League Baseball's hits leader, D. Gordon, having another great year.
He really is. He's going to go to the All-Star game, and when you lose your star, Stanton, this guy is going to have to make everything happen. You got to pick up the slack and look at that average. When he gets on base, he's awfully tough to keep from scoring. So the Marlins trying to get on track, and they've won some games without their star, D. Gordon, a big reason.
Just the second ever night game on the 4th of July at Wrigley Field. We're glad you're a part of it. Baseball Night in America. Marlins and Cubs are next. Back, and the newest Cub left-hander Clayton Richard acquired yesterday from the Pittsburgh Pirates, where he had been working on his game in AAA. Back in the big leagues this afternoon. thrown right out there to start today on 4th of July. We welcome you back to Wrigley Field. Let's take a look at Dan Jennings' Marlins starting lineup this afternoon. The lefties, D. Gordon and Christian Yelich off the top. Yelich has been red hot, 10 for his last 18. Denny Echeverria likely headed to Cincinnati as an all-star this year. He bats number 3. Jeff Baker, JT Realmuto, Miguel Rojas, Marcell Ozuna, Cole Gillespie, and the pitcher Jared Kozart rounding things out for the Marlins. So Clayton Richard back in the big leagues after a series of physical setbacks, and back in the big leagues with the crosstown uniform from the team that originally drafted him to get to Major League Baseball, once property of the Chicago White Sox, the majority of his Major League time in San Diego. You see the numbers at AAA Indianapolis for the Pirates. They were very good. Made 9 starts at the AAA level, and is back in the big leagues for the first time since the 2013 season. Clayton Richard ready to start his comeback in earnest this afternoon. D. Gordon starting things out for the Marlins, and he takes strike 1.
Got to believe a little anxiety, 2 years not being on the bump, and probably pretty excited to get going.
Richard last started on the 28th of June and went 7 innings, allowing 1 run, allowed 3 hits, struck out 5, didn't walk anybody, looked as sharp as ever, and got himself on the Cubs' radar on that day if it wasn't a lot sooner. And again, acquired for cash considerations from the Pirates organization, and quite frankly filling a need. Joe Maddon told us before the game that he just met Clayton today and said go get him. Counts a ball and 2 strikes on D. Gordon, leading things off for the Marlins, and he has a base hit back up the middle. So now the speed of D. Gordon, something that Richard and the Cubs will have to contend with to start out the ball game.
Yeah, the biggest thing for the Marlins now, they don't have their star and basic front runner for the MVP in Stanton, so everybody's got to glue into their roles and be more focused and try different ways to score. D. Gordon, of course, is the perfect way to get on the bases and make havoc there.
Here's Christian Yelich now. He's hit safely in 6 in a row and has been red hot, trying to bunt his way aboard, if not sacrifice Gordon, and he's behind 0-1.
For Clayton Richard, he's going to have to stay on the corners, pitch effectively in a little bit. He's got a fastball that sinks 92 miles an hour, sneaky quick, kind of throws from behind his head, changeup, and his breaking ball, but primarily a fastball changeup. He's going to work down in the zone, try to get a lot of ground balls.
Gordon running, and it's a foul ball at the plate. Clayton Richard has a terrific move to first, and we usually don't get into the micro matchups early when we set the table early in a ball game like this, but a pretty good cat and mouse game to start the day between D. Gordon with his 28 thefts at first and a guy that again has a very good move over to the bag. 0-2 the count to Christian Yelich.
The left-hander has that 45-degree angle, which is usually about 70. Almost impossible for an umpire to determine sometimes. If a left-hander hangs and waits for the first movement of the runner, he can then decide what he wants to do. Like that.
And they've got him picked off dead to rights. Hey, welcome to the Wrigley Field fans. Clayton Richard helping himself out by picking off one of the biggest thieves in the league.
Just telling you right now that again, we talked about it's the hardest thing to. Andy Pettitte was about as good as you'll ever see. Some left-handers can wait and decide what he wants to do. The Marlins are trying to decide if he, even though the throw beat him, they're trying to decide if he got in there. And this is what this new era of instant replay, and you will see that he might be safe.
Well, the throw beat him by plenty.
Stall tactics going on. The umpire trying to give the, even though this is encouraged to make the decision quicker, you're still trying to find ways. Once the batter gets in the box, it's over, or the pitcher on the mound, they're going to replay it. And I think they're going to be able to say, remember, it's got to be evidence that is easily to overturn it. You can see right there, that would mean to me that he was safe.
Boy, still awfully close, even when you slow it down the way we have the luxury of doing, and that's what they're looking right at right now back in New York at MLB Advanced Media.
The throw beats him in plenty of time. Now we're seeing it in slow motion. You see him be able to apply the tag, but it looks like the foot could have been there. So it's got to be clear and concise.
That's incumbent on the middle infielder, in this case Starlin Castro. The ball was there in such plenty of time that it's on Castro to get the tag down.
Right. Back in the day, without this replay, it's a no-brainer. When the ball beats you by that far, the umpire is always going to get the benefit of the doubt and make sure that the call is properly made in the ball beating him and the runner.
It's a big deal early in the game. Clayton Richard, making his first start in the big leagues in some time, helps himself out with what looked like a pickoff. And yeah, the call's going to be overturned. Gordon is safe. Credit him with his 29th bag of the year. Fans are booing here. I'm not sure exactly what they're booing. If they're booing Castro and the technique at the bag, or if they're booing the reversal of the call. Probably a little of each. And now it's an RBI opportunity on an 0-2 count for Christian Yelich. That's beaten on the ground to second. Addison Russell there today for the Cubs. Gordon advances with one away.
And you'll watch some teammates give Yelich what would seem like an ordinary ground ball to second base. That a boy for getting him over, especially on an 0-2 count. Those are the parts of the games a little bit that have gone unnoticed in our day and age, where we're so consumed with numbers and how to prevent runs and how to score and not give up outs.
Switched out a bag at first base at the 4th of July bags. I guess those are being taken off now. Yeah. And the traditional Cubs logo on the side of the new one. The infield will come in for Chicago now, and an RBI opportunity for Adeiny Hechavarria. A 286 hitter at the start of play, and he takes strike one from Richard. By the way, the overturned call is Dan Jennings' 5th in 7 managerial challenges. He has picked the right spots. Comebacker, and Richard has it. Looks the runner back and gets the second out of the inning.
Well, that first pitch that he got called a strike set up that pitch. Expanded the strike zone. Hechavarria didn't think that a pitch was a strike, and then he was able to steal more inches off the plate and a weakly ground ball back to the pitcher. And you can see how nervous he was, just even with Gordon at third, trying to throw the ball over the first.
So now it's up to a former Cub, Jeff Baker. As you take a look at Richard, kind of looked the runner back and then almost tentatively shoveled it over to the first base bag. Nothing in one to Baker, batting cleanup this afternoon. Dan Jennings and the Marlins still looking for exactly what the answer will be in the middle of the lineup. Without Giancarlo Stanton, as John mentioned earlier, lost last Friday after hitting the right wrist in Los Angeles. A fractured wrist has Major League Baseball's home run leader and the player of the month in June out from 4 to 6 weeks. A big blow, one that just can't be filled by one or two guys. The Marlins, for their part, however, have played admirably well in Stanton's absence. They've won 5 of 6 games since he went down, and a couple of guys in particular have really stepped up. Among those, Christian Yelich, who we saw earlier this inning.
One of the things the Marlins have struggled with is runners in scoring position. I know that the average can go down and you could absolutely lower your average and drive the run in. We didn't see that last, but with 2 outs, their average goes to 199. But coming into this series, they had struggled with scoring runs with runners in scoring position.
These numbers almost belie themselves. You saw it a moment ago. Along this course of winning 5 of their last 6, they've hit only $159 in spots like this. So 2 balls and 2 strikes. It remains to Jeff Baker. Clayton Richard trying to strand that leadoff single. And a call, strike 3. Clayton Richard pitches a scoreless top of the first. It is returned to a big league rotation. the left-hander Clayton Richard, and it's time for Jarred Cozart to start his afternoon. He faces a Joe Madden-authored lineup that looks like this. The switch hitter Dexter Fowler off the top in center field, and then the Cubs go left, right with Rizzo and Bryant, Montero and Castro. The former Marlin Rookie of the Year Chris Coghlan, Chris DeNorfia follows him. Then the pitcher in the 8th spot, and Addison Russell, the second baseman, batting number 9. So not only do we have one kind of comeback story on the mound this afternoon, we have another as Jarred Cozart makes his first start since the 13th of May. He has missed a handful of time dealing with vertigo. Has made one relief appearance since being reactivated, but all told missed 38 games because of vertigo and is back out there to start tonight.
He's done a nice job against his opposite counterpart. Left-hander's only hitting .217. He pitches much better ahead with a 136 opponent's batting average as he does behind .306.
And Dexter Fowler starts it against him. Fowler, Rizzo, and Bryant for Chicago. Numbers coming down for Dexter Fowler, and the switch hitter in from the left side where he has had a bit more difficulty this year. The difficulty over his last month or so has been shared on both sides of the plate, unfortunately, batting under 200 in his last 35 contests. 2 balls and a strike from Jarred Cozart.
And he has some opposite splits. Only hitting .210 off the righties, but .340 against lefties.
That's headed for the gap in left center. Dexter Fowler on his way around first, on his way into second with a leadoff double.
You know, it's interesting as we were here early enough, just sitting there in the booth, I watched some early BP, and this is exactly what he was trying to do during BP, and he did it quite well. He was hitting the ball the other way, trying to stay on the ball, probably getting himself from pulling off of the ball. And the time he put in today, what I was watching as a former pitcher, I always used to watch BP to see what guys would do and what they were working on. Always can tell a little tip here or there, and sure enough, he applied his work right away.
A runner in scoring position for Anthony Rizzo, who will pick on the first pitch and ground it to first base. Baker handles it himself, but Fowler to third with 1 gone.
Well, the Cubs are going to be picking on a lot of first pitches. They're one of the best in baseball on first pitch average, and Rizzo certainly loves that first pitch at a 5.14 clip, although he grounded out. Did his job, got a runner over to third, similar to the first inning for the Marlins.
So a chance to plate a run and a fly ball for the exciting rookie Chris Bryant. Bryant has hit safely in 21 of his last 22 at home, where he has had much more success at the plate in general. And on the first pitch, he launches one to left. Yelich doesn't even turn his back, and that one's gone. Santa Maria. Number 11 for Chris Bryant, and nobody in the ballpark had any doubt.
Cozart's ball naturally cuts. That's his fastball, 95 plus miles an hour. That ball cut over the middle of the plate, and the perfect swing, uppercut swing. That ball was out in a hurry.
Count is a ball and a strike to Miguel Montero. The Cubs off to an early 2-0 lead thanks to their Rookie of the Year candidate Chris Bryant.
There's the knuckle curveball by Cozart. He primarily is going to attack most of the guys with fastballs. That's the first runs he's given up in the first inning. the 7 previous games. He's got a change up here early throw, but it's pretty much fastball, cutter, knuckle curve.
Three balls and a strike to count to Montero.
And these are the counts that he struggled early on. Not a lot of action, 7 games coming into this, but behind in the count, hitters have had a better chance.
And a bouncing ball for D. Gordon, and out number 2. Let's take another look at the Bryant home run.
Yeah, you see the ball. You see the cut spin, doesn't do anything. Stays right there in the middle of the plate. Simple swing. But oh, a powerful result.
Did somebody get that baseball, or did it get all the way out onto the street? Doesn't really matter.
No, I'm like you. I'm looking at Yelich, and he didn't even flinch.
Here's Starlin Castro now.
Some of those, I guess that one you can understand, but always felt like a little courtesy. I mean,
a little move. Yeah, it is a little rough to do to a teammate, but if ever you're not going to move on a ball, that'd be the one to not move on. Chris Bryant's blast in the first has lit up the Wrigley faithful. Fireworks early on 4th of July. 2-0 Cubs. Budweiser, make it a plan to make it home. Extraordinary moments happen every night in baseball, but on one night they all happen in one place. Don't miss the 86th annual All-Star Game. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, Tuesday, July 14th, right here on Fox. Chris Bryant's 2-run home run starting the scoring for the home side. So top half of the second, Clayton Richard working with an early advantage. And he'll get JT Realmuto, Miguel Rojas, and Marcelo Zuna for Miami.
This guy's been really hot the last 7 games for the Marlins.
Realmuto has been among the positive developments for the 2015 Marlins. Been very good against left-handed pitching as well. 17 for 51 against southpaws.
That BP I was watching earlier too, it's been very difficult to go to right field. Didn't see many home runs to right field. Wind pushing across to the left side, so you saw already not much resistance there. But anything hit to that side of the field, if it's up in the air, the wind's going to knock it down.
So one gone, for a guy who's very familiar with this part of the world. Speaking of Clayton Richard, whether you're talking about the National League Central, the American League Central, or the Big Ten, as J.P. Morosi has a little bit more.
That's right, Matt. He is from Lafayette, Indiana, not far from Purdue, but Clayton Richard originally went to the great city of Ann Arbor as a football recruit at the University of Michigan, played 1 season of football there as the backup to Chad Henne at quarterback, then only pitched 1 season for the baseball team, but that was enough for the White Sox to make him a draft pick.
Drafted by the White Sox, traded to San Diego in the deal that brought Jake Peavy to the South Side some years ago. And again, as we mentioned, and as JP touches on, Richards, the majority of his big league time with the Padres last year, coming back off a variety of surgeries, had an abbreviated stay with the Arizona Diamondbacks organization, made 4 starts at the AAA level, but just getting healthy for Clayton Richard was the big battle. That's on the ground to second. Addison Russell has a little trouble with it, and Miguel Rojas reaches safely.
Still got a smirk on my face from hearing the great city of Ann Arbor.
You guys, you Michiganders, never ends.
The Lansing part of me, you can't say the great part. That right there, anytime you're on the skirt of the grass and the infield dirt, you get a chance for a bad hop, and he rides up the glove from an error.
Addison Russell still, I think, fairly stated learning the position at second base. Most of his time as a professional has been at shortstop. So another base runner aboard for Richard to deal with. Marcell Ozuna, the batter now, 1 for his last 29.
Well, the Cubs have some interesting decisions, as do, let's say, the Mets, in opposite ways. The Mets have all the young pitching. They're going to have to part with one of them, one would think, to make their team a little bit better in another area. And the same may be said for the Cubs and one of their position players to add a left-handed bat or maybe an arm. And I think that at one point you figure Russell's going to be their shortstop of the future.
Yeah, a lot of people have kind of diagnosed the Mets and Cubs as perfect trade partners because the needs and the surpluses seem to match up well. Whether or not there have been serious discussions there, we're not sure, because both of those camps are rather tight-lipped. Counts 2 balls and a strike to Marcell Ozuna. There's a flare out to right. Denorfia has been busy this inning. He makes this play as well. JP, will bring you in on this discussion. It's easy for people to armchair quarterback and come up with trades while they're sitting on their couch. It's another thing entirely for these things to get done.
There's no question about it, Matt. And for now, I do get the impression the Cubs are primarily focused on adding a starting pitcher. We see Clayton Richard here today. They've had to cycle through a little bit with this starting rotation. And one long-term concern, Matt, and you guys touched on it in the open, we know the Cubs have very good position players in the minor leagues as well, with Javier Baez and others, but the top-level pitching is a little bit thin.
2 gone for Cole Gillespie now. And I guess, you know, the baseball calendar being what it is, John, we get through the All-Star game coming up in a little over a week, and then all of our attention collectively will be focused on the trade market and the deadline on July 31st.
Absolutely. And when you think about teams to watch, right? I mean, after the All-Star break, I really believe Cincinnati being the host, once they get through that and they don't do anything to get back into the race, they're a team to watch.
Grounded conveniently to Rizzo, but a foul ball.
Because I think they've got pieces that are really going to help. Really going to help some other teams. You're talking about the Reds at this point are 15 games out of their division. And if they don't make a run here late, you've got Johnny Cueto. You've got pieces that you might even think about a Chapman making a organizational change. You talk about changing your organization, you could bring back some pieces with those guys.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Cole Gillespie.
The Phillies, of course, are going to be big. Probably Milwaukee if they decide to sell. And then these Marlins. I don't know what the Marlins are going to do when you think about what they've assembled and what they have going for them in the future.
A swing and a miss. Another base runner stranded with a strikeout. 2 shutout innings so far for Clayton Richard. Is sponsored by T-Mobile. Switch to the data strong network. Well, you probably already noticed it tonight, but for the first time, all big league clubs are wearing special caps and jerseys to celebrate the 4th of July. And all of Major League Baseball's net proceeds from the sale of these caps and jerseys will be donated to Welcome Back Veterans, which provides grants to university hospitals throughout the country to treat veterans suffering from PTSD or traumatic brain injury. MLB has committed more than $30 million to Welcome Back Veterans. A terrific cause indeed, and quite a different look.
Yeah, I like it.
Day. It's Chris Coghlan leading things off. Knowing you as I do, and knowing that you were a traditionalist in every sense of the word, what would you have thought about these things when you were wearing them on a start day?
You know what? I tried to push for when we did do it, and I hadn't given up an earned run in 3 different games in these uniforms to try to make it permanent, and I couldn't get it done. The throwback days was really what we had, and I did fairly well, and even though they were hot, because they weren't made like the uniforms we have today. But yeah, I've worn my share of. I can't even tell you how many different uniforms I've worn for the Braves, and their different colors and throwback days.
2 balls and a strike to count to Chris Coghlan. 3-1 now.
As long as they never outlawed the 2-in-1 stirrups, because that's what I made famous. I was the lazy guy with the socks that had the built-in stirrup in the sock.
You're right. Those have kind of gone away.
They have.
And there's ball 4 to Coghlan. Did you see the bat that Bryce Harper used, and he happened to hit a home run against Madison Bumgarner today? He used this special red, white, and blue bat that was really neat looking, but I just can't imagine how it was okay to use that thing. Like, the uniform code and the equipment code is pretty strict, but apparently that was all right.
On this particular day, I guess.
Give him a pass on 4th of July. You can see images of that on foxsports.com. Chris Denorfia now with the runner aboard.
Well, there's a good buzz back in this ballpark. For obvious reasons, they've been waiting for this team to show off its superstars, but more importantly, get in position to do something for a possible playoff run.
Big swing and a miss, and it's 0-2 to Denorfia. Denorfia's hit safely in 7 of his last 8 games and may have some of his playing time compromised moving forward, starting perhaps as early as tomorrow when the Cubs hope to have Jorge Soler off the DL. On the ground is shortstop. Echeverria has to double clutch and ends up with nothing.
I've got Penn in my, what do you think?
I'm saying infield single. We are in Chicago after all.
Yeah, this is a little in between hop. He's going to throw it to second, but when he can't get the transfer right away, he then looks to first. Denorfia gets down the bank.
What do you got?
I mean, you could almost say fielder's choice error, but it's going to be a base hit, like you said, at home.
So it gets a little stickier here with nobody out for Cozart. Runners at first and second now for Clayton Richard. A career 118 hitter. And they're going to shorten him up. A ball and no strikes.
And you almost got to crash the corners. Third baseman's going to read the play. Pitcher's got to get the line. First baseman's going to come in hard. And you're taught as a pitcher, if they're both too far in, you just pull it back and slash because you got an open left side of the field, similar to a shift. But you got to bunt it to the third baseman.
As Joe Madden got to know Clayton Richard for about 5 minutes today, having just arrived in the clubhouse, Joe told us this morning that one of the first things he asked him was, "What kind of bunter are you?" Clayton said, "I'm all right, average."
Yeah, I think he said average.
And here they are getting to know one another between the lines today. 2 strikes now. We'll see if bunt play stays on. And give me your thoughts about the pitcher batting 8th and what it's led to right here in front of us.
I've seen a couple scenarios, and even Joe Madden will realize that they can come up with the bases loaded, right? I mean, based on how things go. And it happened in St. Louis, and the pitcher actually got a hit. Roach, I believe, was the pitcher. So it's interesting to see in this database and how we analyze everything and what it correlates over time, having the pitcher there and having almost 2 leadoff hitters for 9-1.
They left the bunt play on for Richard, and he strikes out. That's the first out for Jared Cozart.
I don't know what he doesn't. 2 years has been a long time. He's trying to figure out what happened. Oh yeah, that's going to be a strikeout.
Is that still an out in this league, you say? I've been gone a while. So 1 away.
I tell you, I mean, that's one thing every pitcher's got to be able to do. I know that in the National League you can help yourself in so many scenarios. It's not that hard. You just got to practice it, and you got to get into a position where you use the barrel of the bat as your eyesight. Place the ball where you want to instead of reaching the bat.
So now Addison Russell. Russell batting just over 100 in his last 11 games, just 4 for his last 37, an average of 108 during that span. Would love to advance the cause here, first and second and 1 away. You know, we talk about the Marlins and how offensive challenged they are, offensively challenged they are in the post Giancarlo Stanton era, and that'll be the case for the next 4 to 6 weeks while he heals. The Cubs aren't in any better shape offensively, at least on paper. They have scored 2 or fewer runs in 9 of their last 10. 2 balls and a strike to Russell.
Yeah, they really have struggled, and yet are in a nice position leading the wild card. Joe Madden thinks that his hitting's going to come around. They're going to be able to do some things when they get healthier. Strengthen their bench. Rest some guys against a tougher matchup. Second in the league in strikeouts. Last year, of course, they were up there as well, and cutting down a little bit of it. You see the numbers there. Last 10 games, only 220.
The trappings of youth. 3 balls and a strike to Russell. And there is ball 4, the second walk of the inning, and the bases are loaded now with 1 away. Pitching coach Chuck Hernandez comes out to talk with Cozart, who is clearly trying to shake some rust off, having not started at the big league level in about 2 months.
Yeah, and he came in relief against the Dodgers, looked like throwing a little bit harder than normal out of the pen, trying to get back into the structure of starting. His key is going to be the command of that fastball when it naturally cuts, and if he throws it away to a right-hander, then he can utilize his secondary stuff off of that. But right now, that cutter and that fastball have not been in agreement with the strike zone consistently enough.
Coughlin at third, D'Onofrio the runner at second, and then after the walk, it's Russell at first. All this with just 1 away for the switch hitting Dexter Fowler, who doubled and scored in the first.
Got to be very careful on this first pitch. This is what the Cubs like.
A ball and no strikes to Fowler.
And that's a good pitch. He didn't get the aggressive swing, but he changed the mindset of the hitter that he wasn't just going to keep pouring in fastballs.
Two balls and no strikes.
When you get reduced down to 1 pitch, or the hitters don't have respect for your other pitches, it's going to be a tough night in the starters for any starter in the game. And right now he hasn't shown he can get that knuckle curveball over. He hasn't shown the consistency of his fastball on the outer part of the plate.
Rizzo next with the bases loaded and 1 away, and it's 3-0 to Dexter Fowler. And the Marlins are in jeopardy here of this thing getting out of hand rather early. Ball 4, he walked in a run. 3-0 Chicago. And just like that, there's activity in the Marlin bullpen.
Rizzo swung at the first pitch after a leadoff double. He's got the bases loaded. Tremendous opportunity for a big number here for the Cubs.
And it's the former Yankee David Phelps getting hot in a hurry. Here's Rizzo now. He grounded to first in his first plate appearance today. Aggressively swinging at the first pitch again. Anthony Rizzo is all over the league leaderboard in almost every significant offensive category for National Leaguers. He paces the Cubs in just about every significant category. Fastball catches the corner.
That's a real good pitch, and you got to tip your hat. But now what Rizzo does with 2 strikes is unlike what the other prototypical power hitters do. He will change his swing. This is a cutter on the outside part of the plate, probably a little bit off, as Rizzo's right on top. He will get a 2-strike approach and put the ball in play more times than he has in the past. Chokes up with the barrel of the bat, leaving a little bit beneath his hands to the knob. And obviously he's still trying to think about getting the ball in the outfield grass to drive in a run, but it's not a relentless aggression. It's more controlled with 2 strikes.
Chris Bryant waiting next. He has homered today. The 1-2, and Rizzo hanging in there.
And that's what he'll do a lot. He had an at bat in St. Louis, I believe, just fouled off a lot of pitches, almost emergency swings until he gets one he likes. Now he does have that hold down. If you can get the ball down even more than that on a breaking ball.
Cozart's next 1-2. Got him looking. Little breaking ball caught the outside corner, and Rizzo was frozen. Did he throw him a changeup there?
He did. He threw him a changeup on the outside part. This ball looked like it was going to dive out of the strike zone.
Oh, yeah.
Great pitch. Clutch pitch. Great hitter. Rizzo is caught looking.
A terrific time for Jared Kozart's first strikeout of the game. So now he has to deal once again with Chris Bryant, who launched a tape measure shot in the home first. His 11th of the year, RBIs 44 and 45, almost got to Waveland Avenue.
Normally, if the bases weren't loaded as a pitcher, you would challenge him again, but I don't think so here. He did away. Give him credit. That's almost like one of those things a pitcher in their mind says, okay, I know you just took my fastball 420 feet, but I'm not afraid of you. I'm going to come right back at you. Just didn't think he'd do it with the bases loaded right there.
2 balls and no strikes to Bryant. Bryant's home run came to left, and when this young bull pulls the ball, good things usually happen. Highest batting average to the pull field in baseball. Look at the veteran names that are on that list. Guys like Justin Upton, Paul Goldschmidt, Chris Bryant, over 500 when he hits the ball to left.
All right, Matt. You're managing 3-0. Green light to youngster.
It's so green that I don't even have a good comp. It's bathed in lime juice. It's so green.
Ooh.
Takes a strike on the inside corner. Jared Kozart just has not looked pleased with anything today, and he gave you that reaction on the misplay at second base. So now it's 3 balls and a strike. Bryant to left again, and Bryant has gone deep again. Grand slam. Yourself a 4th of July celebration there, young bull. His second career slam has lit this place up. That will be the end of the line for Jared Kozart, unable to complete 2 innings in his first start in almost 2 months. Chris Bryant, the big problem tonight. 7-0 Chicago. On July 4th, Chris Bryant will be earning a nickname Uncle Sam should he continue on that route in future 4th of July matchups. His second career grand slam, a career best 6 runs batted in tonight. And we are only in the bottom of the second inning. Already to the bullpen go the Marlins. Jared Cozart's return did not go as planned. And right-hander David Phelps is pressed into early action tonight.
Phelps, of course, coming from the Yankees. Now back in the pen. Maybe not for long. The hardest thing to do, the bases loaded and 2 outs and a 3-1 count, is not think about walking somebody or pitching out of the zone. 1 run versus 4. And unfortunately, the 3-1 pitch resulted in 4. But as you said, Matt, he just didn't seem comfortable on the mound. He wasn't comfortable with his fastballs and his location.
Miguel Montero pulls the ball foul, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes to the Cub catcher.
I thought this was a sneaky addition that was really going to benefit the Cubs. With all the young players that we talk about on their team, they're going to need some guys with some veteran leadership like David Ross and John Lester. 14 different players on the roster, including the DL, the Cubs have now from last year.
And Montero takes a look at a called strike 3. Chris Bryant off to a flying start on this 4th of July holiday. A 2-run home run and a grand slam. Part of a big early Cubs lead. Baseball Night in America will return to Chicago after a word from your local Fox station.
This ball gets out at 104 miles an hour. You see the launch angle and the height, only 63 feet. But man, at least he got the outfielder to move and think there was a chance on that one.
6 runs batted in already tonight for Chris Bryant. So Clayton Richards' new best friend has helped him out quite a bit in his first return to a big league mound in some time. As we've talked about, that's a part of the storyline tonight. Clayton Richard, and with a need at starting pitcher, as David Phelps has a base hit back up the middle. You know, Clayton Richard has a chance to stick around here for a bit and make an impact. And as we mentioned, his numbers at AAA Indianapolis with the Pirates were very good. I understand that that's AAA, but this is a guy who's been there before, and we really didn't set up all the physical adversity that Clayton has gone through to get back to this point. Not only recovering from shoulder surgery, as D. Gordon steps in now with the runner at first, but having gone through a much more difficult procedure, and one that you're hearing more and more of these days, thoracic outlet syndrome surgery. And that's a very intricate process that more and more pitchers seem to be going through these days. Comebacker to him, to second for one, and the Cubs fail to double off a very fast man.
This is about as simple as a comebacker, and this tells you how fast Mr. D. Gordon is. Maybe not the perfect throw to set up to relay, but you got to make sure you get the one at second. And the one thing pitchers forget, you pitch on a down slope to the mound, obviously, and when you get the ball back, you're throwing uphill. And a lot of times a pitcher, if he doesn't take his time, you see that ball launched into center field or thrown poorly. Get the out at first or at second and see if you can turn it. But in this case, they couldn't.
Christian Yelich hits the hole on the right side. Gordon to second, where he throws on the brakes. So a couple of base hits in the inning. Runners at first and second with one away now for Adeiny Hechavarria. Want to finish the thought on this thoracic outlet syndrome with regards to Clayton Richard and what he overcame. It's a medical term that is not within most of our vernacular. And what it is it's the compression of nerves and blood vessels resolved by partially shaving down the collarbone. It's rare, but it seems to be happening more and more. Aaron Cook, the former Rockies sinker baller, Chris Young, who's made a great comeback. There's a base hit into right. Hechavarria singles, and the bases are loaded very quickly with one away in the top of the third.
Yeah, I believe you lose some strength, and you can't really figure out what's going on in the shoulder, and they've determined that this type surgery, and we've seen some people come back and have success.
That's what Richard says, Clayton Richard rather, has dealt with to get back to this point. What he's dealing with here is a bases loaded threat with one away for Jeff Baker.
See the numbers he has been cool his last few games. Hadn't had many hits. This would go a long way to solve some of those problems, not only for him but his team. And of course Clayton trying to throw sinkers away to get a ground ball. Double play to get out of the inning.
Baker was a strikeout victim in his first try on one hop for Bryant. He knocks it down. It scores a run. Everybody's safe, in fact, and it's 7-1 Chicago.
Well, they got the ground ball, but it was an in-between hop that took a not so kind hop into the chest of Bryant. Probably going to be a double play, but you see the top spin. Looked like his problem was he was maybe going to third to first for the double play instead of around the horn. So maybe moving his feet a little too quick to try to get over to third base, to tag the base, to throw to first. But not so fast runner. But it did not happen.
That scored as an E5, but an RBI is credited to Baker on that play. And now JT Realmuto. Dan Jennings has to like his chances to at least get a chunk of this damage back here, because he has his most effective hitter against left-handed pitching with one away, a run in, and the bases loaded.
Yeah, other than Yelich, the hottest hitter in the lineup.
Richard was able to navigate a couple of base runners in the first, stranding one in the first, one in the second. Trying to avoid the big damage here. And in front, 0-1 on Realmuto. Check that, 0-2. 0-2 the count to the Marlins catcher. I mean, you could say this every time through the Marlins lineup, but this is where the absence of Giancarlo Stanton really stinks.
No, there's no doubt. I mean, I know they've won some games without him, and maybe it's just a subconscious, hey, we really got to grind out some at bats instead of relying on our big horse to drive everything in. He drove in almost 40% of the runs, it seemed like.
And Realmuto chases, 2 gone. Big strikeout for Clayton Richard.
That wasn't even a good pitch. I mean, it ends up looking like a good pitch, but you see how far he missed his location, and the hitter still went after it.
3 strikeouts for Richard. Now Miguel Rojas. Rojas reached on an error in the second.
It's amazing about pitching. You realize the pitch called may not have been the best pitch had he executed. One will never know. He threw that about 4 feet away from where he was throwing it, and he ends up getting the hitter to swing at it. And you look back and go, yeah, that was the right pitch. See, fastball away.
You know, we talk so much about how the Cubs lineup is among the younger lineups in baseball. The Marlins are younger, and part of their young struggles have been productivity with runners in scoring position. They get only 1 despite a bases loaded threat. They play 2.5 at 7-1 Chicago. The 2015 FIFA Women's World Cup final is here, and it's a rematch 4 years in the making as Alex Morgan and Team USA take on defending champion Japan to see who will be crowned a champion. Coverage begins tomorrow at 5 Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, only on Fox and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Back with J.P. Morosi and John Smoltz. Matt Vasgersian, 7-1 Cubs.
Well, they haven't given up a goal yet, right?
I think that's right. The first game, I think they were scored upon.
Okay.
Dominant.
I like their chances if they keep that up.
Do you?
Yeah.
There's Starlin Castro leading things off for the Cubs, and a 1-1 pitch to him is taken for a strike. Castro, Coughlin, and Denorfia. What a terrific holiday weekend it is. The FIFA Women's World Cup final We're here in Chicago. I couldn't think of a place I'd more like to spend 4th of July than this city, this ballpark. What do you think of the new accoutrements here, by the way? I want to take your temperature on that.
I like it. I like it a lot. I think this park needed it.
Starlin Castro with a high drive out to left. This will stay playable for Yelich. It took a while for this thing to get done, but I would say that it was worth the wait. The new scoreboards in left and the corner and right are brilliant.
Yep.
And I think, my opinion, it was done so skillfully that it's as organic as you could imagine it being in a ballpark with as much history as Wrigley Field. To make changes, just the idea of that was unsettling to the Wrigley faithful. But unless you were told, hey, that stuff's all brand new, it has the appearance of having been here for a while. Not 100 years, of course, but it doesn't slap you in the face with new technology the way some were fearing. It's really nice. Ball and a strike, to count to Chris Coughlin.
So far, the early reports have not affected the wind.
Over the mound, Echeverria has a tough play, gets it to first in time to get a speedy man. Nicely done by Adeiny Echeverria, a young player who has really opened some eyes this year.
This guy can play with any shortstop, including Andrelton Simmons with the Braves. Quick transfer, got him easy.
2 quick outs now for Chris Denorfia.
It's amazing to me, you know, I've fallen prey to it a little bit, the business that we're in and trying to predict in the offseason who's going to do what trades, what offseason moves. And the teams that have made the most have not benefited the most. And it's been really weird. Some teams who haven't made many moves stayed pat. They did a nice job. And I was sold on the Marlins. I really was. I know some injuries have taken its toll, but I really thought they had the dynamic staff coming, and they made some big time moves as they have in the past. We've seen them win 2 World Championships and then change their whole franchise the next year. It'll be interesting to see the direction they take here in the second half, as it has not worked out this year.
Denorfia with a high fly ball into the left field corner. The Gold Glover Yelich is there and can't make the catch. That wall crept up on him. I think Christian had a little bit more of an opportunity than he thought.
Yeah, it's amazing when you're coming into that corner. That wall's not going to give a whole lot, so he's checking the environment, and at the last minute he was ready to brace his impact, but the ball just off the end of the glove.
Well, you think about Marlins and Cubs and that corner and that kind of catch, and it's hard not to imagine Moises Alou and Steve Bartman.
I'm not familiar with it. What happened?
We'll Google it during the commercial break. I'll tell you about it. There's a pitch that misses the corner to Denorfia, and it's 3-2. Game 6 of the 2003 NLCS. Hard to imagine that was 12 years ago. Here it is, John. This is what happened. Well, foul pop, and there was Mr. Bartman. There was Cubs history. There was the Gatorade glove. There was the Billy Goat, and then there was this. Moises Alou chapped, and this was really what turned the tide. The Alex Gonzalez error. Steve Bartman was vilified unfairly. There's a drive well hit out to left. Yelich twisting at the ivy to make the catch. A loud third out, part of a 1-2-3 third against David Phelps. broadcast is sponsored by Lowe's. Lowe's, never stop improving. And by Head & Shoulders with Old Spice. Smell 100% manly. Happy 4th of July. Glad to have you with us as you are enjoying your holiday celebrations today. A 7-1 lead for the Cubs as we start the top half of the 4th. Marcell Ozuna leads things off against Clayton Richard.
Marlins would love to get this guy going again. Outstanding last year with power. This year he's not delivered with the power.
Just one for his last 31 as he grounds out to open the 4th. It's been a curious demise for Marcell Ozuna. At this point in the season last year, his slash line, his numbers across the board implied much more productivity. Here's Cole Gillespie now, making just his 3rd start of the season tonight.
It's interesting in talking with Dan Jennings and just what everybody else apart from the game who played in the game wondered what the transition would be like for a general manager going down into the manager's spot. You're talking about players who every day play for their manager. Are they playing for their future manager or their future boss that's going to go back up and determine the fate of the players? And he said that they addressed so much that amongst other things right away when he went down, and basically he heard them and got a chance to talk to them, and after about 4 or 5 games everything seemed to settle in, and life down there for him now as a manager is all in. He's going to be the manager for the rest of the year, so it seems.
Gillespie into left center. A 1-out extra base hit for the Marlins right fielder. A reminder, this month baseball's best gather in Cincinnati for the Midsummer Classic with home field advantage for the World Series on the line. Our coverage of the 2015 All-Star Game starts July 14th at 7 Eastern here on Fox and streaming live on Fox Sports Go.
Most popular seats would be the outfield.
Balls launched out there.
Everybody might get one in
Yeah.
the home run hitting competition.
See if that guy's out there. Anthony Rizzo. It's a crowded field in the National League at first base. There's a comebacker for Richard as he again shovel tosses to Rizzo at first. I think first base, we're like in this first base renaissance, I think, in both leagues these days. The American League even more so. And it happens to be that all these all-star candidates at first base in the AL are also comeback player of the year candidates. Albert Pujols, Prince Fielder, Mark Teixeira.
Yeah.
Top of the order, D. Gordon now. He takes a strike.
Well, the position that seems to have some slack at it is shortstop.
Yeah. Not quite as deep in either league at that position. I think Brandon Crawford, Johnny Peralta, Denny Hechavarria in the National League. Do I have that right? Who am I leaving out? That's the likely group. 0-2 to Gordon. Back to Richard, who throws to first in time to get his man. A scoreless 4th by the veteran lefty who keeps his 7-1 lead in check. far, so good for the home side. The Cubs on top of the Marlins 7-1. Back with J.P. Morosi, John Smoltz, Matt Vasgersian. David Phelps came on early in this one as Jared Cozart was unable to finish 2 innings. On his first pitch to Clayton Richards, he gets him to pop in the infield, and there's one away to start the home 4th. Yeah, we've been talking a lot about the Marlins as we approach the trade deadline. I think it's interesting, John, and we can bring JP in on this as well, that basically the front office brass, VP of Baseball Operations Mike Hill and his staff, they're here in Chicago, and not that they have something imminent, but whenever that kind of group travels with the big league team, it kind of grabs your attention.
Very strong front office presence indeed, Matt. And the word I received from sources is that the Marlins are having ongoing trade conversations. Nothing imminent as of early this afternoon, but you can tell, being in the clubhouse, even Dan Herron and Matt Latos, 2 free agents to be on the pitching staff, they know what's going on. They realize the likelihood they'll be traded, and obviously it's going to be an anxious couple weeks in the Marlins clubhouse for sure.
Yeah, we spoke with Matt Latos a little bit before the game, and he's very aware of his status, his situation, being a free agent at season's end. There is something of a surplus there among starting pitchers, and especially, John, if you talked about the guy out there now, David Phelps, works his way back into the rotation, as many suspect he will. Dan Herron's being paid by the Dodgers. Why not send him back there? They're paying the freight after all, and the Dodgers could use some starting pitching help. Heck, why don't they let us do all these trades? We got it all figured out.
Well, the interesting thing is the return, right? I mean, for Matt Latos, he's not having the year they thought he would have. Fastball has yet to get back to where it was. He's pitched better of late. And the interesting guy is Dan Herron.
Addison Russell pops it into shallow center. Hechavarria from shortstop for route number 2.
I don't know how accurate it was, but some talk about possibly retiring, you know, and the fact that he came to Miami and he was fully prepared, and he has shown to be a professional and helped this staff, the veteran that he is, and everybody's learned from this guy. So the Marlins do have some pieces, and I just think it's the hardest thing to do in this day and age, because I don't think they're that far from next year being in a position to win.
Totally agree. There's Dexter Fowler now with 2 away. And it's certainly not gloom and doom. I mean, they're going to get Stanton back in 4 to 6 weeks. A terrific young player in Yelich. There are pieces. They've had some good bullpen performances of late. They've got D. Gordon. That deal worked out great for the Marlins. He's a piece to build around in the future. Though Ozuna has taken a step back on paper, I don't think anybody's lost any confidence in him. And if you look at the rest of the NL East, and of course having Jose Fernandez healthy, I mean, one of the most electric starters in baseball. A huge step in the right direction. Who beyond the Marlins and I guess the Nationals have as much young lock and key talent? The Phillies are rebuilding. The Braves are rebuilding. You know, as good as the Mets pitching staff is, they've had a hard time scoring runs. So to your point, John, you could see an immediate flip next year, and if it doesn't come together this year for the Marlins, then I don't think it's crazy to suggest that 2016 could be a terrific year for them.
I mean, I know Washington's not going to say this. You never know what the future holds, but one would think they've poured everything into this year. You can't keep that whole staff. You wouldn't think financially. Zimmerman's a free agent. Desmond's got contracts he's turned down. He's a free agent. So you're looking at a shift and a change where they've locked down they're not going to go with 5 unbelievable guys. They're still going to have a real good pitching staff if they don't sign those guys. But in the next couple of years, you know, anybody can make a shift and a change and go right from the bottom to the top, with the exception maybe of the Phillies, because they have a long list of them.
Full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes to Dexter Fowler, who's been on base in both of his plate appearances and scored 2 of the 7 runs for Chicago today.
But I really think the hardest job or the hardest decision that's going to be made in that division is going to be by the Mets. And what do you do, and which young arm do you give up to make that impact position play?
Chopper to second. B. Gordon is there to gobble it up, and it's a 1-2-3 fourth for David Phelps. Still 7-1 Chicago. Protect our freedoms. Log on to welcomebackveterans.org to see how you can help. Christian Yelich leads things off for the Marlins in the top of the fifth. Yelich, Echeverria, and Baker, 2-3-4 batters for Miami. Christian Yelich extending a modest hitting streak with a single in the third. He has hit safely in 7 straight. 11 for his last 20.
He has been hot.
1-2. So far, so good in the Cubs' debut for Clayton Richard.
Yeah, he's moved
Strikes
in and
out
out.
Yelich. The story of the day is Chris Bryant, however, with a couple of home runs, including a grand slam, and J.P. Morosi talked to his manager about him between innings.
Joe, how about Chris Bryant's final impression before the All-Star team is named?
Not bad. You know, he's been, I don't want to say slumping, but it's been a little bit different for the last couple of weeks. Got a day off a couple of days ago in New York, and all of a sudden you saw 2 home runs tonight. It's pretty nice to see.
You meet Clayton Richard for the first time ever today. What do you think of him so far?
He's been very nice. Throws the ball on the ground, that's for sure. I heard about, I've seen him in the past with the White Sox and in San Diego. I've seen the sinker before. I've seen it firsthand. He does throw a lot of ground balls.
Thanks, Joe. Happy 4th of July.
My pleasure, buddy. Thank you, too.
You know, we should also mention, John, as Adeiny Hechavarria sends a fly ball into foul territory. Not quite foul enough. Chris Denorfia makes the catch. We should mention that Richard coming to the Major League roster was one of 2 moves that the Cubs announced today. Catcher Taylor Teagarden was also called up today from the AAA Iowa roster, and that's because David Ross was placed on the 7-day concussion DL, retroactive to July 2nd. So a couple of moves, one accommodating the starting pitcher, and one as a precaution with David Ross, who remains a very important part of this team.
Yes, he does, and that was another late move when you talk about John Lester getting him to sign.
There's a base hit for Jeff Baker. So a 2-out single keeps the inning alive for JT Realmuto.
Just what we talked about in the very beginning. This is what Clayton has been able to do. Move it in, out, get the ball on the ground. Nothing flashy. You don't see a high radar gun readings. You just pitches according to his strength.
First pitch swinging. Realmuto has a base hit to left. So back-to-back 2-out singles. Hey, next half inning, we are going to talk with Jose Fernandez, who came back on July 2nd, hit a home run and earned a win in his first start of the year, coming back off Tommy John surgery. One of the most electrifying pitchers in our sport. Can also hit a little bit, as we saw against the Giants.
Real.
Jose Fernandez line. A terrific debut for 2015 as we look back on what we can call a historical moment presented by Pepsi. Yeah, it was history. He came back, first start of the season, off of Tommy John, and hit a home run. He has never lost at Marlins Park. And we'll visit with Jose coming up next inning. Pitch to Miguel Rojas, misses inside, and it's 2 balls and no strikes.
And time's going to tell. You know, we're in an interesting, I guess you call it dilemma, as we get a visit to the mound of how pitching has, how we look at pitching today, and what will Tommy John recipients, will they be able to last? How long will they be able to last? Will it be the rest of their career? In this day and age where we kind of max out the effort, all eyes are going to be on this latest crop of guys. Harvey, Fernandez, you name it. It just seems like every young pitcher that we've talked about has had Tommy John, and they're coming back, and the game's in their hands. It's going to be a key to see them stay healthy and pitch for a long time.
It was crazy to suggest 25, 30 years ago that a guy could come all the way back from ligament transplant surgery. Now we're talking about guys in today's day and age of medical advancing coming back from 2 of them.
Yeah.
And there are a handful of those guys out
3
there now.
And that's my fear. That's why I say, you know, what is the time frame? I think the longest tenured guy right now that has pitched after Tommy John might be Zimmerman with the Nationals. He's approaching free agency. See how he's viewed on the open market, being a recipient of Tommy John surgery.
3 balls and a strike to Miguel Rojas now. Cubs pen is hot for the first time. Justin Grimm throwing. It's been very effective since coming off the DL in May, as you saw a moment ago. And the pitch is chopped to third. A room service bounce for Chris Bryant. A couple of runners left stranded. We visit live with Jose Fernandez coming up after a quick timeout. Cast is sponsored by Chevrolet. Find new roads. Now, that was Jose Fernandez before the game started today, making the day of a number of local fans here in Chicago. And live, Jose is watching along with us in the middle of the contest tonight. Jose, thanks for the visit today. And look, congratulations on your return back to the big leagues, your win on Thursday against the Giants. It must be extremely satisfying for you to come all the way back.
Yeah, it really was. That was a really good game, and I think we got the win. I think that's what the main key here. That I'm healthy and we got a good win.
As we see a hit batsman, let me just get to the really important stuff. Did you go to the hitters meeting after your game after hitting a home run?
Oh man, I wish. I think I got pretty lucky there, and I'm always trying to swing big, so I got lucky there once.
Jose, talk to us about the rehab process. You did a lot of hard work. You've been known as a hard worker even before the arm surgery, but talk about the rehab process and what you had to do to get back out there.
For sure, I have learned a lot in this process. I think that helped me out and made me grow as a pitcher and as a person too. I had a really good group of guys. Ron, Jakub, the guy that I was working with every day, and it was really good to work hard with him. And for sure it was tough. It was tough, lonely, a little bit lonely. But I think we learn from it and we get better at it.
As most people who love this game as much as you do, and you're passionate and the emotion you carry with you, what is the one thing you learned when the game was taken away from you for that year in time?
I really wish that I can explain that. It's a weird feeling. You see you guys and you see your teammates competing out there, and I was talking a little bit ago with Bohr, our first baseman, and I go, man, there's nothing better than watching baseball and being American and being free. But it's just great to be a major league player, and I appreciate it so much every day that I'm out there. It's an honor.
Hey, speaking of being an American, Jose, I know that on this 4th of July, you're such a terrific story for so many reasons, but you received your United States citizenship before the season started. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it was a great thing. I got excited. It was something amazing, something that that I really wanted to do before one of my main goals coming to the United States. But for sure it was a great accomplishment. I think for me, and my mom's an American citizen too, so props to her too.
We're showing some footage for folks at home about the process, and the big smile on your face after that was over with. 2 balls and 2 strikes. The count to Chris Bryant here, batting with a runner aboard. Anthony Rizzo hit by a pitch to start the inning for a league-leading 17th time. Visiting with Jose Fernandez, and Jose, from this point moving forward now, I know the temptation would be, for a fan, we'd think, gosh, it must be hard for you not to just go all in. Are there certain things that you have to pay attention to now after the surgery that you have to take slowly?
Guys, pretty much, I think it's been a little while. It's been almost 14 months. We have been working a lot, and I think we have put a lot of effort into it. Just gotta feel healthy, and I think that's a big picture. But of course, I think that the team and the doctor, they're watching out my pitch count and stuff. And on my side, I just gotta keep making sure that my mechanics is correct, and I'm not lowering my elbow too much and doing any of that stuff.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, that when you have that time away, you're able to work on those things. How do you process your information? Do you watch a lot of video? Do you rely on the pitching coach? And do you do anything particular when your time is not, when you're not pitching? How do you get between your starts?
There's a little bit of everything. You always go talk to the pitching coach. You always watch a lot of video. But I think this is, you have to really feel it, coming out of your hand. I think you're the only one that knows when the ball is coming out of your hand well, and I think you would know better than anybody.
It's a fly ball out to left center as Yelich is under it. We can't wait for your teammate to get healthy this year too, Jose, because to have you and Giancarlo both out there at the same time is something that Marlins fans have waited for. Giancarlo, of course, out 4 to 6 weeks after the wrist injury. Have you spoken to him after he got hurt?
Yeah. I talked to him the same day that he got the surgery. Everything went well. He came out there with the team the day that I pitched. So he's I love him a lot. he's a great guy, and for sure it's fun to watch him hit the balls. I'm 2 miles away, so I think that's always fun.
Well, we're looking forward again to having you guys both healthy and out there at the same time. We appreciate the visit, Jose. Congrats once again on the return and the big win on Thursday against the Giants, and we're looking forward to seeing you back out there again in a couple of days.
Thank you, guys. It's an honor talking to you guys.
Jose Fernandez joining us here during a 1-on, 2-out micro rally for Chicago. Starlin Castro, the batter, with Rizzo still aboard after being hit by the pitch to start the inning. And a breaking ball fouled at the plate. It's 1-1.
So many great debates and so many different topics that you could have if you had to redraft everybody. What one pitcher would you look at in today's modern baseball, whether it's the young guy or the Clayton Kershaws? And I tell you what, he's at the top for me. He's in the top 3. You can't go wrong. His stuff is so dynamic. It almost looks video game-ish, where his slider disappears, and he talked about keeping his elbow up and getting the mechanical position to avoid anything in the future. But that is an imposing figure on the mound.
You know, Dan Jennings told us regarding his start on Thursday that the perception was Jose is going to come out there hair on fire, 110% from the first pitch, and he was so aware of not doing that he almost wasn't himself in the first inning, and he gave up a couple of first inning runs. Then he became himself when the game wore on a little bit and had enough success to post the win. David Phelps is able to strand a base runner here in the 5th. He played 5 complete at Wrigley, and it's still 7-1 Chicago. Brothers, 100 years later, their spirit lives on. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. On to the 6th inning we go, and the Cubs, backed by a couple of Chris Bryant home runs, including a grand slam, still enjoying a 7-1 lead on this Independence Day. Bottom third of the Marlins order against Clayton Richard, whose Cubs debut has been a successful one thus far. Marcell Ozuna, Cole Gillespie, and David Phelps. And a quick 0-2 count on Marcell Ozuna. Richard working quickly, as he does. Yep. He has been one of the quickest workers in the game the last number of years. And again, we're talking about a guy who's making his first start since 2013.
Infielders will enjoy playing behind a guy not only that gives up ground balls but works quickly.
Still 1-2 to Ozuna.
I think like third, fourth best, fastest. Fourth.
Yeah, between 2009 and 2012, only Burley, Joe Blanton, and Tim Wakefield were quicker between pitches. Baseball Night in America brought to you by Chevrolet, the official vehicle of Major League Baseball.
Well, the Cubs pitching has been really outstanding. It's the reason they're in the place they're in, because we talked about offensively they can improve, and there's the numbers right there as far as time in between pitches. But their pitching staff has done a great job, including their bullpen. When you think about where they're headed and the changes they've made, I think that's the biggest change, is the pitching aspect of closing out games. They play a lot of close games. Another one he's just going to underhand. He's not taking any chances on those, is he?
Yeah, well, that had been a problem for him at times in San Diego. In fact, we talk about league leaderboards that Clayton Richard was on during his time in San Diego. He was quick between pitches. He was also guilty of errors from that spot. They usually came on bunted balls. The ones that came right back at you with hair on him, he could get it over to first base without a problem, but it was the bunts and the ones he had to kind of shovel over there that gave him a hard time. Pinch hitter now is Ichiro Suzuki. The ageless wonder, a .251 hitter this year. That's punched out to Bryant at third, and it's a very quick 1-2-3-6 for Clayton Richard. Still 7-1 Chicago. It's the Esurance All-Star Selection Show. The starters for both teams will be announced, with the reserves announced on Monday. Then on July 13th, it's the 2015 Gillette Home Run Derby presented by Head & Shoulders. It all leads up to the Midsummer Classic, the game itself, Tuesday, July 14th at 7 Eastern, right here on Fox. Second reliever of the game enters for the Marlins. Right-hander Brian Morris will go to work against Chris Coghlan, Chris Denorfia. And then the pitcher's spot for Chicago.
got some really good help out of Phelps, keeping the game right there and providing some innings. Brian Morris throws his fastball upwards of 95 miles an hour. He's got some sink, slider firm at 89, 91, and a curve at 85.
A 1-1 to Coughlin, and a breaking ball stays low.
It's a good one. I think that was right over the heart of the plate.
Coughlin sporting the patriotic eye black. I think the uniform code is relaxed today, John, after the bat that we talked about earlier that Bryce Harper used and the eye black. You know, you're not supposed to have the messages in the eye black these days. I think it's okay when it says USA.
Yep.
Coughlin sends a fly ball out to left for Yelich, who's been kept busy tonight. And there's one away for Brian Morris. Can the Mets possibly dream of scoring against Zach Greinke? A Mets-Dodgers update. Let's go back to the studio and look in on Chris Myers. Yeah, Chris, thanks. The Mets got a couple of runs yesterday. They've scored 2 or fewer in 13 of their last 15. I mean, that was like a regular offensive explosion last night with 2 runs for the Mets. And today they've got to deal with Greinke, who hasn't given up a run in 3+ starts.
I'm telling you right now, this is one of the most hidden great first halves. Mainly because Scherzer, and rightfully so, has had such an unbelievably dominant first half, but maybe not the best, in my opinion. All Greinke has done is just give up nothing and not been rewarded for getting many wins on it. A 1.51 ERA is where he's at right now.
That's you're talking about, like, you know, pre-mound lowered numbers. This is like 1968 stuff. Gibson and Lolich type ERA numbers. In fact, we have this, that Greinke's 1.51 ERA would be the second lowest ERA before the All-Star game since 1969. Clayton Richard around for a third plate appearance tonight as he rolls one out to Hechavarria, and it's a quick 1-2-3 6th by the right-hander Brian Morris. far for the home team, rookie slugger Chris Bryant, who has hit not one but 2 home runs tonight. The second, a grand slam, becoming the first Cub to hit a 4th of July grand slam in over 100 years. And get a look at a further comp. First player in the National League with 2 or more home runs and 6 or more runs batted in on the 4th of July since Willie McCovey had such a day back in 1962.
I'll tell you what, Clayton Richard, I don't think you could ask for any more. Certainly he couldn't ask for any more. That nice gift of 7 runs after 2 innings, but pounding the strike zone, limiting the damage. Looks like he's leaking a little bit. Every chance he's gotten the bullpen up, he's gotten the outs he needed. Not a good start here. On the count to 3-0, so I'm sure the bullpen will get going as soon as somebody gets on base.
Well, D. Gordon led off the ball game, if we recall, with a base hit, and then it looked like Richard had him picked off. He did. The problem was Starlin Castro was not in a good spot to apply the tag, and after a review, Gordon was safe. Richard got out of that jam and has gone on to allow only 1 run tonight. He's come back to fill the count 3-2 and then loses Gordon on ball 4. That is the first walk tonight issued by Clayton Richard. Leadoff man's aboard to start the 7th, and now it's Christian Yelich.
See how they fare. 6-run game. Don't know if he'll be running or not.
And now Miguel Montero comes out to chat.
You know, if there's any time to run, it would be right now after this little meeting, focusing on trying to throw a strike. I know the Marlins don't want to run into outs when you're down by 6, but it's the perfect scenario to run when the pitcher's trying to focus on what the catcher came out and said and throw some strikes.
Yelich checked his swing on a strike. It's 1-1. For Clayton Richard, his longest AAA outing this year was 7 2/3. He did that about a month ago. Into the opposite field, well hit. Coghlan taking a circuitous route, but getting there at the end to make the catch. A reminder to follow your favorite team and players all season long with MLB.com @Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. @Bat is up to the moment at any moment with in-game highlights, live looks, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, StatCast, and more. Get MLB.com @Bat now.
Well, from the 7th inning on, the Cubs, best bullpen in baseball. You got to like their chances when they get a starter to get them to the 7th inning. 2.26 ERA from the 7th inning on.
The start of the day, the Cubs starting staff had gone at least 7 innings in 3 straight. Clayton Richard is a couple outs away from running that consecutive streak to 4. That had happened once previously this season. And between guys like Jake Arrieta and the pricey free agent import John Lester, to your earlier point, John, starting pitching around here is as good as it's been in a while. What a find Arrieta's been.
Yeah, he has been unbelievable. I'm chuckling because the bullpen here and the guy in charge of the guy warming up, more importantly, that foul ball.
Echeverria sends one into the corner. That's going to do a little damage. It rattles around. Gordon can score walking. Miami's on the board in the top of the 7th. It's 7-2 Chicago.
And that might do it for him, but I want to show you what Wrigley brings in here. This saves your buddy right here. He's going to wear this right in the derriere. He's got to focus on the pitcher warming up to get ready to come in the game, and he says, I got him. I protected him.
It looks like that's going to be end of the line for Clayton Richard. A terrific return to the big leagues. Guy who's overcome a lot to get back here. He will leave as the pitcher of record and hand it over to his bullpen. He leaves to a nice July 4th ovation. Pitching change, and we'll be right back. Is his responsibility, but what a terrific performance, and as John mentioned earlier, could not have asked for a better re-debut in the big leagues. He will turn things over to the hard-throwing right-hander Hector Rondon. Richard goes 6 1/3 tonight. Again, the runner at second is his responsibility. Rondon making his first appearance since Wednesday when he worked a scoreless inning against the Mets. And he faces a pinch hitter here, and a guy that has the capability of putting a little scare in you. The left-handed slugger Justin Bour, who, by the way, has homered in 4 straight games.
Rondon has an electric fastball, 97 miles an hour, really good tilt to his slider, pretty much a 2-pitch pitcher. A long arm delivery, and he gets after it right there. He's just a challenge Bour, 3 straight fastballs. I think he'll drop a little slider here.
Echeverria at second after doubling in a 1-out run. Homering in 4 straight for Justin Bour has tied a franchise record. Tough duty for him to try to break that mark coming in off the bench tonight. A non-starter against Clayton Richard, and it's a ball and 2 strikes.
So that stat won't go in games started, huh? Just if he pinch hits,
it burns it. Yeah.
Burns it. Well, I'll start. He'll just have to start a new one.
Sure.
Games started 4 in a row. So the next time he starts, he's got a chance to continue that.
A tremendous amount of muck on his helmet, though. Barnold Fletch line.
There's a slider.
He strikes out. Montero will finish with the throw down to first, and there are 2 away. Now, you pop one in 4 straight, and you're going to get people's attention. And in a year where the Marlins have given opportunities to guys that might not have been on the opening day radar, Justin Bour, who was a Rule 5 selection from the Cubs Double-A roster a couple of years ago, has become a fast favorite of Dan Jennings for obvious reasons. An unsuccessful pinch hitting appearance for him here, however, and with 2 gone now, it'll be JT Realmuto.
Their pen and the emergence of their starters, and when John Lester gets locked in, and believe me, he's going to get locked in. I know he's tried really hard to make a first impression here with his new contract with the club.
It's a bouncer up the middle for Castro, and the inning is over. 7th inning stretch at Wrigley on this Independence Day. 7-2 Cubs. Budweiser make it a plan to make it home, and by the Dodge brothers. 100 years later, their spirit lives on. 7th inning stretch at Wrigley Field, and it's a 7-2 lead for the Cubs. Addison Russell, the number 9 hitter, followed by the top of the order Dexter Fowler and Anthony Rizzo. Well, the Cubs did most of their damage, in fact all of their damage, in the first 2 innings tonight. Chris Bryant with a pair of home runs, including a grand slam, and Chicago had its 7 after 2. In fact, of the last 14 batters to come to the plate for Chicago tonight, only 1 has reached base safely, and that's when Rizzo was hit by a pitch in the 5th. Great job by David Phelps out of the bullpen, quieting down what was a loud lineup early on.
Yeah, he did. And we talked in the beginning about what the Cubs like to do. They feast on first pitch. They don't hit very well when they're behind in the count, dead last. Best in baseball on first pitch, ball in play. But Cozart just did not put his team in the best position by throwing enough strikes. Got behind in the count, 1 better, responsible for 6 RBIs. But it's the traffic he got on and how they got on before that damage was done.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Addison Russell. Brian Morris tossed a scoreless 6th as he continues in the 7th. Look out! Oh my goodness! That got Gary Jones, the third base coach. Oh my!
ball was absolutely nowhere for him to go.
No, it looked like his first move was into the flight path of the ball, certainly unbeknownst to Gary, and it got him on the elbow. Fortunately,
this is such a unique park. There's not much room between third base and each dugout, and first base has a little more room. But we're going to get a chance to watch it real speed, and this ball is just pulled, and he's trying everything he can to find out which way to go. And he's in no man's land right there. Catches it on the elbow. But you can see there's no distance between. The dugouts are on top of the field. Luckily, actually, that nobody's on the base, because you think about what his responsibility is. His back will be to the batter when there's runners on looking at various plays. So at least he has one thing he could do is concentrate on the hitter at that point.
Yeah.
And he'll have a few things to say after this game, too, to Mr. Russell.
You know, helmets have been made mandatory at all levels of professional baseball, and that was something unfortunately brought on by the death of Mike Coolbaugh, who was struck by a line drive while in the third base coaching box in a minor league game. We get older, we get a little smarter, but it's not perfect yet. These things can still happen. The 3-2 to Addison Russell's fouled back.
He's definitely taken a few more steps away from Russell down the line.
Just glad that didn't clip him above the shoulders, that's all. The next 3-2 home. A called strike 3. Brian Morris has retired all 4 Cubs that he's faced so far tonight. Series finale tomorrow between these two teams. If things stay the same tonight, it'll be the rubber match. Kyle Hendricks and Matt Latos tomorrow afternoon. Back to the top of the order, Dexter Fowler now. So we were talking to Joe Madden before the game about Dexter Fowler specifically, and though he has struggled offensively leading into today's, he remains no less an important guy for Joe, who has been very impressed by not only his work ethic trying to get out of it, but by his defense. Madden told us that they challenged Dexter before the season to become a better defensive center fielder, and he has done just that. It's rolled out to second, 2 away. Our Budweiser game summary: Chris Bryant and Clayton Richard have been the story. Bryant in particular. A home run and a grand slam, 6 runs batted in all told, and Richard's North Side debut has been a successful one, in line for a win in his first major league start since 2013. Two gone, bases empty now for Anthony Rizzo, who was the last Cubs base runner after he was hit by a pitch in the 5th. Right back to Morris. Coming in hot. Still 7-2 Chicago. All-Star Selection Show as the starters for both teams will be announced with the reserves announced on Monday. Then on July 13th, it's the 2015 Gillette Home Run Derby presented by Head & Shoulders. It all leads up to the Midsummer Classic. The game itself, Tuesday, July 14th at 7 Eastern, only on Fox. 7-2 Chicago. That's where it has stood ever since the Marlins scored their second run in the 7th, and the Cubs are on to the bullpen for their second reliever of the game. He is right-hander Neil Ramirez, making his 8th appearance of the season tonight.
You can see another hard thrower, sits back on his back leg, fastball slider combination. Rush it up there at times up to 96 miles an hour. 88-mile-an-hour slider acts more like a cutter, but goes down and tough to hit.
Miguel Rojas, Marcelo Zuna, and Cole Gillespie 6, 7, 8 for the Marlins. Ramirez has Rojas 0-2. And he got him swinging.
There's the slider. When the Cubs went to St. Louis, you would anticipate Joe Maddon and his ability to gauge his team as we look at this finished slider away. And they got swept. Had a game, first game they were going to win, and blew the lead. And almost reminded his team and talked to him about that's what a first place ball club looks like. And in a strange way, maybe gets his team prepared to think more lines of the way the Cardinals have been able to do business. They may not catch the Cardinals in the division. Right now they sit on top of the wild card with a 2-game lead. So the goal is to get in, but the great rivalry between these two, I'm sure, will be heated up in the near future.
Yeah, both St. Louis and Pittsburgh were winners today. Bucks beat the Indians 1-0. Jeff Locke was terrific. And the Cardinals beat San Diego 2-1 to snap a 4-game losing streak. Let's bring JP Morosi in on this because, again, you get past the All-Star game, JP, and then as we approach the trading deadline, it's bunched up pretty good in the NL Central, where it seems to be where the balance of power exists in the senior circuit.
Well, Matt, it's a tough break for the Pirates. They have the second best record in the National League right now, but they have the great misfortune of being in the same division as those Cardinals, 6 games back. So they may, in fact, still have the second best record in the National League at the end of the season, and all it will earn them is a home game in the wild card round.
Boy, again, right? I mean,
yeah, 3 years in a row.
The Bucks would love to be able to not play an elimination game to try to survive a postseason, but yeah, 2 straight seasons where they have not been able to win an elimination game. Cole Gillespie leading things off, or rather with 2 away and the base is empty here in the 8th. I don't know, it can be as simple as to say, you know, Pittsburgh or Chicago is a piece or 2 away from being able to catch the Cardinals, because as Joe Maddon said to the media recently, St. Louis is an outlier. They're going to be good. They're always good. They replenish whatever they lose, and you just have to deal with it. I do think that Pittsburgh has the starting pitching to make an even bigger run, and that's saying something because Pittsburgh's had a great start to the season.
Yeah, they have a really good combo of their offense, their defense, and their pitching, and that's pretty much what the Cardinals have been able to do. I still think the Cardinals are going to have some issues eating up some innings late in the year with their young pitchers and developing them and stretching them out.
There's a drive well struck into left and off the ivy. Cole Gillespie wheeling into second with a 2-out double. And of course, to just correct myself and clean it up, the Bucks won the play-in game, the wild card game in 2013. The whole Johnny Cueto drops the ball thing, and then lost last year to Madison Bumgarner and the Giants. JP, as we talk about the Pirates pitching staff, when Charlie Morton and Jeff Locke are your bottom of the rotation guys, it means you're pretty good, as they are.
They have been outstanding with Cole, A.J. Burnett, Francisco Liriano, all with ERAs under 3. And to put in a quick plug here for A.J. Burnett, he is 38 years old, in what he has said is his last season. He has never been an all-star, guys. He's third in the National League right now in ERA. So hopefully, for his sake, for a lot of fans around the country, he'll get that ticket to Cincinnati.
Pretty sure he's going to be there this year. Derek Dietrich is the pinch hitter here with a runner in scoring position and 2 gone.
Well, what's interesting is because of that rotation is the reason the Cubs were able to get Clayton Richard, because he had a opt up or whatever in his clause where if somebody could take him to the big leagues, he could opt out. And it was a tough call for the Pirates because they liked him, but there wasn't room to put him on the big league roster.
Wouldn't you think that there are a handful of other GMs out there knocking themselves saying, really? I mean, for cash considerations, we could have had him too?
Yeah, there was a bit of an unknown, and I think maybe a tiny risk, but to the degree of what we're looking at and what he might play out for the Cubs, yeah.
I mean, you're not giving up a player. Cash considerations. Get a guy like that who's looks to be all the way back. He was great today. A ball and 2 strikes to Dietrich.
That's what's so unique about today's philosophies with options. And what I mean is you got to have options in the bullpen with guys that can go up and down without losing or taking people off the roster.
That's a little line shot sprayed out to Bryant to retire the side. We're going to the bottom of the 8th, and it's still 7-2 Chicago. Youth movement in April. Chris Bryant, Carlos Rodon, and Addison Russell all make their debuts. The following month, we see Noah Syndergaard. Maikel Franco has been terrific for the Phillies in June. Look at this group. Joey Gallo, who's since gone back down, and so is Kyle Schwarber here with these Cubs. But Francisco Lindor, Byron Buxton, and Carlos Correa, who is here to stay, folks. And that doesn't even count the guys we've seen debut in July already. Miguel Sano, Steven Matz. What a terrific new group of bona fide big league stars in wait. Here is one of them. Chris Bryant has had a night to remember on this Independence Day with a pair of home runs and 6 runs batted in. He is 1 RBI shy of tying a Cubs rookie RBI record for a single game. Giovanni Soto in his Rookie of the Year campaign in 2008 drove in 7 against the Pirates.
Joe Maddon said with his lineup and young players, he has different philosophies than most of the other I would say, managers in baseball. He doesn't believe solely in batting practice and doesn't place that much importance on it. He's more interested in giving guys days off when he feels like they need him.
Fly ball into the opposite corner. Gillespie is under it, and there's one away. Tonight's telecast is sponsored by Pepsi, the official soft drink of Major League Baseball, and by Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports. First batter retired by Brad Hand. Back in the bullpen after making 3 trips through the starting rotation that did not go particularly well. 11 2/3 in those 3 starts in which he allowed 8 earned runs. So that in part explains why Brad's back in the pen as he starts Miguel Montero with a strike. Ten home runs for Miguel Montero to begin his Cubs career. Hit a total of 13 last season, his final year in the desert with the Diamondbacks, as he jerks that one just foul.
Good firework going off early.
Have a way of kind of whetting your appetite, right? Fans are going to stick around for fireworks after the game. That always presents a whole hairy set of variables here because of the uniqueness of Wrigley Field in a neighborhood. The hoops that the Cubs have to jump through to do things like fireworks or construction to the ballpark. It's the kind of legislative red tape stuff that I don't think any other franchise in pro sports has to deal with, including Fenway, including Soldier Field here in Chicago. What they've had to do to get things passed and constructed here, I don't think we'll ever know the full details.
Yeah, it is pretty unique, though. I'll tell you what, day and age, the fact they still have ivy in center field, not a protective anything protective on that brick wall behind us is amazing too, because you think about all that we try to do to prevent injuries. It's been able to stay out there. That's brick behind there.
Yeah, it's real brick. I mean, you've got all these historical preservation groups that get up in arms whenever you say you're going to move a chair from here to there, and I understand that. But the club has to be allowed to evolve its home ballpark, and they have done just that. The clubhouses will be complete for next year, and there's a huge hole in the ground where there used to be a parking lot where that work is taking place. Montero sends a drive to deep center. Stays in the park for Ozuna, and out number 2. A reminder, watch every out-of-market game live in HD on more than 400 devices with MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking widget, and more every night on every device. Visit MLB.TV for details.
Tell you what, you talked about the clubhouses. That is going to be a huge thing with the players. Being able to have a spacious clubhouse and be more modern than the stadium is going to really make it nice for the players.
Well, the fireworks guy is really anxious to get going here, huh?
Throwing up some testers.
Ball and no strikes, the count to Starlin Castro.
Remember all the days back in the visiting clubhouse, making the zigzag journey up to the small confines of the clubhouse. Not much room for anybody to do much. Definitely unique.
Yeah, September roster expansion has ramifications here that you really feel. Quite intimate. 2-1 to Castro, big swing and a miss. when the Marlins bat in their half of the ninth, trailing, they'll have the top of the order, Gordon, Yelich, and Echeverria.
I think for the Cubs and their offense, for them to heat up, they're looking for some warmer weather here.
That's rolled out to short. Echeverria has this one to retire the side. A 1-2-3 8th by Brad Hand to the top of the ninth. Cubs in control tonight. The July celebration to remember for Chris Bryant. The fireworks came early. A 2-run home run in the first. A grand slam in the second. Chris Bryant, our T-Mobile Game Changer, the official sponsor of Game Changers everywhere. First National Leaguer with that kind of line on the 4th of July since Big Stretch Willie McCovey did it back in 1962. And a sold-out crowd here at Wrigley Field has enjoyed every moment of just the second ever 4th of July night game at Wrigley Field. Top of the order here for the Marlins. James Russell looking to close things out.
Russell, another pretty good straight over the top fastball, slider, cutter, changeup, got it all.
Again, the Cardinals and Pirates both winners today. Cubs trying to keep pace with the top dogs in the NL Central. And it's a ball and 2 strikes to D. Gordon.
Not sure the Dodgers thought he was going to be able to duplicate what he did for them, and he's done a little more than that.
Gordon lifts a fly ball out to right for Chris Denorfia. And James Russell's 2 outs away from the fireworks show. Again, a reminder, Women's World Cup, the FIFA final tomorrow, the U.S. versus Japan. Been a long time that the Team USA folks have waited around for a rematch, and it's all coming tomorrow. Christian Yelich will spray a ball foul into the left field corner.
Emphatic call. It was close.
You know, we talk about the Cubs and the Cardinals and what Chicago has to do within the division. Cardinals are coming in as a part of this homestand. As Yelich bounces one up the middle, Russell to his right, tough play, and he couldn't get it there in time.
Yelich can run long strides. And Russell can cover some ground. Lefty's got an advantage getting down the line with big long strides and beats it out.
It's going to be all for James Russell. The pitching change with one out in the ninth. We'll be right back. Seventh inning, but there will be now 4 additional arms in that line score at the end of the game. It's Pedro Strop who will try to close things down in the ninth with 1 out and 1 on. Strop last worked on Wednesday, a scoreless outing against the Mets. He'll face Adeiny Hechavarria with a runner at first, and once again 1 out here in the ninth.
Another, keeps repeating myself, another 95-mile-an-hour fastball coming out of the pen. Herky-jerky delivery, arm action. Fastball slider combination. Sometimes his slider loops a little bit.
Hechavarria's had a nice night, shoring up his all-star credentials. Behind here, 0-2. Strop is holding opponents to just a 151 batting average. All the numbers check out across the board. He's having a fine year. 40 strikeouts, just 15 walks in his 35-plus innings. Still 0-2 to Hechavarria. We had mentioned the Cardinals right before that commercial break and how the Cubs are in the beginning stages of a long 10-game homestand. The Cardinals come in next to play 4 games in 3 days. That includes a split doubleheader on Tuesday. And then the homestand wraps up with 3 against the White Sox starting on Friday. It's city rivalry to get us into the All-Star break. That could be the end of the night. Instead, Russell has trouble with the transfer, and there are 2 away in the 9th.
A long underhand toss, tried to make it as quick as he could. It's on the longer variety, and he just could not get the transfer out. His hand, see there, not gripping the baseball.
Justin Bour now with a bonus opportunity to extend his consecutive games with a home run streak. A big pass and a miss as Hechavarria runs without a throw down. No stolen base credited on the play. Bour struck out as a pinch hitter in the 7th. Again tomorrow in the series finale, what will be the rubber match should the Cubs hang on here. It'll be Kyle Hendricks and Matt Latos.
Fastball inside, trying to get that comeback call. Fans were anxious.
Three balls and a strike. And there's ball 4. So now Strop will face JT Realmuto, who is 1 for 4 tonight. Nothing's easy, right?
Nothing's easy. Never assume. See that arm action right there. That you got away with that pitch. That's the one thing that can get him in trouble is the way that he spins that ball on the slider. His fastball, if he gets underneath, it's the timing of his arm because it's kind of a little funky as it comes out of his glove. Get down there, no problems.
Sold out crowd knows that it's 1 strike away from a happy entry into fireworks tonight. Quite a weekend in Chicago, by the way. Grateful Dead here playing at Soldier Field. U2 is here. The Cubs are home, and the White Sox are home. And that'll do it. They're singing "Go Cubs Go." After a 7-2 Chicago win, we're back to wrap things up after word from your local Fox station.